From Del Rio, Texas, Rob Wade and Robert Garza. Two guys who dive. This episode of Two Guys Who Dive, recorded live Saturday, 23 February 2013. Episode 56, From One Extreme to Another. Welcome once again to another exciting, fun-filled, and fact-filled episode of Two Guys Who Dive, and I'm your venerable host, Rob Wade, and I'm here with...
Robert Garza.
A.K.A.
Bobby Flamingo.
You had to think about
There
it.
you go.
It's like, is he going to say Robert Flamingo?
I was going to be proper and say Robert Flamingo, but
Roberto
it's Bobby.
Flamingo.
It's Bobby.
Thank you very much, Rob. I'm Bobby.
I'm Bobby.
I'm
Thank you
Bobby.
very, thank you very much.
I'm Bobby, too. You're
Yeah,
you're
you
Bobby and I'm Bobby.
I guess we're bobbing.
We're just or if we were in England, we'd be a couple of Bobbies.
We're Bobbies. Actually, I am a Bobby.
That's right. That's right. So, how was your week?
It was fun-filled, which means it was horrible.
Oh, no, why? What happened?
I refuse to talk about it on air, but if you ask me, I will tell you about it later.
Off air.
Off air. No, it's one of those... unfortunately, it's one of those cases that if you got nothing nice to say, just don't say nothing.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
you know.
I hate it when that happens.
It's just been kind of rough. But aside from that, it's
Yeah.
I'm holding in there, you know, keeping the faith, and hopefully the Lord will get me through
Get it
this.
all straightened out.
Yes.
You know, I've learned, not to get super spiritual here, but I have learned you got to be careful what you ask for. You know, if you ask for patience, then God can pretty much let you get into situations where your patience is stretched.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, that's how that works. It's like working a muscle, which we'll be talking a little bit about working muscles a little bit later.
in my situation, it's one of those cases to where there's a certain person that thrives on misery.
Yes.
You know, and they are not happy into your misery. Or miserable, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, I try to keep my distance, but unfortunately sometimes we cross paths.
Right.
And it's
cross
difficult.
swords.
Yes.
You know, the founding pastor of our church used to tell us, you know, it's kind of a waste of time to share your problems with other people because half of them are glad that they don't have them, and half of them are glad you have them. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, okay. So, and then, of course, you know, the reason why we have such almost useless television viewing these days is because it's all based on watching other people's misery. So,
Yeah.
you know, there are people, there seems to be a growing tide that people just get off on other people's misfortune.
Well, where I don't feel so bad, or, well, I shouldn't even say that, but where it's kind of sad. I'll say
Yeah.
it like, it's
Yeah.
sad that I'm not the only one who's feeling this way.
Yeah.
There's a number of people where I work who are actually feeling this pressure also from this individual. And I think it's just going to come to a head at some point, and somebody's either going to say something or do
Right.
something, or this one particular person is actually going to cross the line and get themselves in trouble. You know, I hate to say it, but sometimes karma, you know.
It is a female dog.
Yeah. It is.
Absolutely.
So,
So my week was pretty interesting. I had we started out, of course, short week because of El Presidente's Day.
we had to work that day.
Yeah, I noticed that. It was very busy at the school.
Yes.
We had to work, or we didn't have to work, but of course, you know, when you come back off of an extra day, there's tons of email you have to catch up, or so you expect. Well, we came in to find that the network was having just incredibly crazy amounts of problems. Things weren't working. Things weren't running. Buildings had no connectivity. Switches were down. I mean, it was just crazy. So, needless to say, our office was crazy hopping, trying to head off all the issues that we're having, that were going on, and unfortunately in our shop, we don't actually have, we don't have a lot of control directly of the, all the network pieces. There's a unit on the base that's actually responsible for that. So all we can kind of do is the other end of the wire type stuff and some administrative. It's just very frustrating because when you could fix the problem this fast and you don't have the control.
Yeah.
It's like knowing you could fix an issue with your car, but you're not allowed to touch the car. It's like, but it's just, I can do, it's all it takes. Oh, we got our guest appearance from Ronan, of course. Come here, you. For those who are not familiar with our podcast, we have normal appearances by Ronan. He's such a doll. He's really been doing well. Really been doing well. Poor guy. He had a problem with his back. He was. Oh, you want up too? Grayson wants up. Not to be outdone. Ronan had a problem with his back, and unfortunately, was actually partially paralyzed. It was pretty bad for a while. But he's been really recovering nicely. We just watch what he does, make sure that he's not doing too much exertion, the hopping up and hopping down. Although sometimes when he's got us trained really well to put him up on the couch or something. So we'll be sitting there and hear this. Oh yeah, it got your attention too. So then we'll who? Oh, it's Ronan, and he'll be sitting in front of right by the couch or something. It's
wanting to get
or
up.
The bed, yeah. Lift me up. So we'll lift him up, and he's fine. He's quite happy at that point. And we have to try and watch him though sometimes because he'll want to get down, jump down all by himself, which we have to be careful of, because he could hurt his back just as badly by hopping down. Their long backs are a challenge. So, but he's been doing really well. He's still got a little bit of a weird gait, a weird walk, especially if you watch him from behind. It's
that's what I was gonna say. When he's walking, he kind of he waddles a little.
Yeah, well, he's got like his for lack of a better description, the rear leg, the there is a word for that. I used to know what the word for where the bend of the leg is, are turned in, which is weird. So he kind of walks, but it gets him stability, and I think that was his way of compensating back when he really had almost no control at all. So poor guy, he's been doing really well ever since then. So we're just happy to have him recovering. We just have to be careful so it doesn't become a problem down the road. Of course, once it's like everything else, and you probably have, if you have relatives who've had like back injuries or knee injuries or hip injuries, they're never fully the same.
Right.
And so as they get older, you have to watch out that they don't re-injure it, because it's much more susceptible to be re-injured under less severe causes than what caused the original injury in the first place. Somebody hurts their back because they tried to lift a bunch of cinder blocks or something.
Right.
Then it's just, for them later on down the road, the mere act of bending down too far and trying to stand up too quickly can re-injure that area without even actually trying to lift anything. So you have to be very, very careful to keep them from doing something simple like running down the hallway sometimes could be, for a dog that's had a back injury, could be a problem. Dealing with a little bit of upper respiratory stuff here because I've been outside. We were next door as you came over. Our next door neighbor, Mark, he hit his 50th birthday. They're celebrating that, which I'll be popping back over there after the after the podcast. And kind of neat to share that with somebody. Welcome to my club. You know, I hit 50 last October, so it's pretty neat to add another person to our collective there. So
Yeah.
So well, we got some interesting things to talk about this week, kind of all over the map a little bit. Kind of mentioned this last week. We've got the Mobile World Congress that starts. Actually, most of the tech industry, all their people started showing up this weekend. So there's a lot of. If you go to the websites, if you're into that kind of stuff, a lot of them already been sharing pre-MWC coverage and what they think is going to go on. So, you know, a lot more rumors flying. A lot more little bits of information coming out from the different companies that will be showing up there. So I'm kind of excited to see what comes out of there. We're going to see a lot of things across the board, across all platforms.
Yep.
So we'll probably make some notes about stuff that come out of that.
Yeah.
Come out of that to for next week's podcast. I'm personally looking to see what Nokia comes out with. There's some rumors that they may be opening the curtain a little bit on a possible tablet.
Yeah.
And
well, they've been talking about that, or it's been gossiped about that Nokia is going to make a tablet.
Right.
But nobody's heard or like really seen anything. So I don't know.
Well, you know, interestingly, they wow, that's interesting. I'm making magic happen. It's pretty cool. Interestingly, the head of Nokia, Elof, I always mispronounce his name. Something Elof. He kept saying, "Well, you know, we're not closing the door on any possibilities," and he's never been fully transparent. But there's a company that looks at there are servers that they connect to that show if if anybody's using their software, their app, and it's a pretty common app, but it basically gathers telemetry on that machine. So in other words, if you I'll just use a common application, for example, WhatsApp, which I was asking somebody today, what's the purpose of that? What value is that, you know, compared to if you've already got whatever messenger or SMS, whatever that you use. But I'll just use that as an example. If they install WhatsApp on their smartphone, then it sends telemetry data to the servers of what the model is of the machine, the model and the make of the machine. So, and producer's just sending us a paper here. Oh, that's interesting. So they see the make and the model of the smartphone on their servers. So they've seen some additional Nokia smartphones out there. They've seen some additional Samsung smartphones, and they're thinking that the Samsung one is probably the Galaxy 4.
And you know, I can't believe like a lot of these cell phone companies that just like, for example, you know, Apple with the iPhone 5, now they want to make, you know, these new devices that are coming out.
Right.
You know, the Galaxy S3, a friend of mine just got it, and he loves it.
Yeah.
But he's like, I just got it. It's the the newest phone. I'm like, it's new right now, but there's no telling how new it's gonna be in like 4 months.
And if the rumors are true, in just a week.
Yeah, there's already gonna be the Galaxy 4.
Exactly.
So it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, one of the devices that they seem to be seeing is what looks to be a Nokia tablet.
Wow.
What they can't tell is if it's a Windows 8 RT or Windows 8 Pro.
Mm.
I hope it's a Pro because I'm just absolutely, the RT is useless to me.
Yeah.
I want the Pro. It's all or nothing for me. So I'm looking forward to.
Didn't Dell come out with a tablet with the Pro on it?
I don't know.
Yep. I caught something about that.
With Windows 8?
Yes. I think it was last week or so. I think it's called a Dell Streak, but it's a tablet. It's not a phone. It's a tablet now.
Oh, so they kept the name.
They kept the name, but now it's a tablet.
Oh,
so it might be something you may want to check out.
Yeah. Well, I got an opportunity yesterday, which I posted on. Oh gosh, now the third dog, Chiana, wants to make a guest appearance. This is Chiana. She had a haircut, so she looks much better. Hi, say hi to everybody. Okay, that'll work. One of the people I work with bought the Microsoft Surface Pro. I said, you have to bring it in so we could see it. And she brought it in, and I was really impressed with it. It's one thing to see the specs and see the pictures and everything, but it's another thing to actually hold it in your hand and be able to manipulate it. I was showing her some things that she wasn't aware of about how she could really use Windows 8 on a touchscreen, and actually helped her out. She has an Android phone. John C. Dvorak, my arch nemesis, the loser du jour. She has an Android phone, and she was like, the one thing is I need to know how to. Since the Surface does not come with, it comes with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, but it doesn't come with cell capability.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So she was like, I would like to be able to still at times connect. I said, well, you can tether from your phone. So I actually helped her do that process and get her, and actually showed her how she can tether it to her brand new Surface Pro, and she had connectivity, and she was able to check her email and all that. She was very, very pleased. So it's very smooth. The screen is gorgeous. It really is a gorgeous screen.
Is it does it got some weight to it?
It does. It is clearly heavier than the iPad, because I've held the iPad before. I've battled the iPad before. So it is definitely heavier. And it's heavier than the Surface RT because it's got a full-blown processor in it and everything. But so I could see where if you were going to hold it for a long time, you definitely wouldn't want to do that. But she had the pink touch cover on it, so I had her set it out and I played with that and the kickstand and everything, and the camera's decent. Not as good as like a lot of your better smartphones, but it was decent. About par for I think most of your laptops. And it was just I loved the way I loved the way it felt. So the only downside, and we've had this discussion before, you were teasing me about it on Facebook. The big downside, of course, is the battery life. She hasn't run it out yet, so she really couldn't tell me what, in real-world use, the way she uses it, what kind of battery life what she's gotten out of it. So that's the only downside. But so that's definitely high up on my list, but I'm still waiting to see what people come out with now.
Yeah.
I think now with the Haswell chip getting ready to roll, I won't be surprised if we don't see like a Surface 2 that uses that, which will be better battery life, or some of the other competition who've already been ready to come out with something, or if they've had it in the works and we're just waiting for the Haswell chip. So I anticipate probably some of the other OEMs will actually come out with a Haswell-based Windows 8 Pro tablet first before Microsoft will.
Yeah.
So, but I was very pleased with it. So
I'm looking for that Dell.
The Dell.
Yeah. See if I can bring it up real quick.
So, yeah, while you're looking for that, let me touch real quick on, I mentioned last week a little bit about the next big Windows update, Blue, which turns out, it looks like it's going to be across the board. It's good. Blue is more of a conceptual update on all the platforms, the desktop, the smartphone, the Xbox, even the Outlook.com, all of that, to bring more platform parity, to start blurring the line more between. Choked here. Between. Where's my? I know I got to do this. I got to do this.
Uh-oh.
I had to do that. For those who don't follow politics, that was my homage to Marco Rubio's Republican response to the State of the Union address. I'm like, everybody was freaking out, making a big deal about him getting a drink of water.
Oh God!
Because it was awkward looking, but he didn't even skip a beat. I mean, the guy kept on going, and he's been good natured about it. So it's just funny.
Actually,
Did you find
it's called the Latitude 10 tablet.
Ah.
And it's, I mean, of course, different specs, but the one I'm looking at, it's got 64 gigs of solid state drive, and includes
Wait a minute, 64?
64 gigs.
Okay, solid state, so it's being fast.
Yeah, and it's running the new Windows 8 operating system.
But it doesn't say whether it's RT or Pro, does it?
No. It's got 2 gigs of memory. It's got swappable battery.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That is good.
It's got a 2-cell battery, integrated 720 front-facing camera.
720p? Okay.
It's a 2-megapixel camera, and it weighs 1.43 pounds.
That's pretty light.
That's a 10-inch screen. They have another one that's a 12.1 screen.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Now you're starting to get big. You know,
You're already looking at laptop size screen.
Exactly.
There.
Of course, my laptop's a 17, so.
Yeah.
So that was the one thing that did kind of catch me a little bit off guard, because it's a bigger screen than the iPad, but it's a bigger screen only because it's going with the 16 by 9 form factor, so it's really wide compared to it being skinny. It's not as somewhat square as the iPad. So I wasn't quite ready for that. That I was like, oh, okay. Matter of fact, for those who are familiar with Windows 8, you know that your live tiles on the Metro side, depending on the height of your screen, can be 4 or 5 tiles high. On my laptop, on my notebook, it's 4. On my desktop here that we're running the podcast with, it's actually 5 high.
Oh.
But on the Surface, it's 3.
Oh wow!
Now the friend who had this was explaining to her, navigation, some of the finer points, and one of the things she said it kind of, she's having to get used to having to scroll a lot. And I said, but there's a way to make that much faster because they anticipated this. Mm-hmm. And I showed her how you can do pinch and zoom the main screen, and it zooms the entire width of all your live tiles down to a single row, and you can quickly just tap on the group that you want to go to, and it zooms it back into that. Okay. So I said, you don't have to scroll through a lot. You can just pinch and zoom, tap, and it brings it right up. So, showing her again some of the finer points.
Some shortcuts, yeah.
Yeah. So there's it's just a matter of getting used to this is how it works with a touch interface. And I actually use that even on the notebook. I've gotten to where with the mouse, I can do most of the things that that you can do with the touch capability. And there was a cool app that that came out for Windows Phone 8 that allows you, if you're in a Wi-Fi connection with it, there's a little server app that you run on the desktop or on the laptop, whichever it is, and it basically turns your smartphone into a touchscreen for the.
Oh, really?
It's pretty cool.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. So you can do the pinch and zoom and everything. I was like, you can swipe from the sides and the top. It just kind of takes over the screen. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I've been playing with that. The only downside is that I wish they would make it where it worked with Bluetooth, because I've got a Bluetooth button on my notebook, and of course I can connect to it with my smartphone. It would be cool if they could make this work over Bluetooth rather than require a notebook. I mean, a Wi-Fi connection.
Right.
So if you're in an area where there's no Wi-Fi,
you can still utilize that feature via Bluetooth.
Yeah. So for the developer out there, this is an idea for you. So anyway, so it would be interesting to see what happens with Blue. I did hear, though, that on the top of that it looked like that the portions that were going to be released for the phone may be delayed significantly. So that's kind of disappointing. Okay, so on the diving news, I was reading today, and there's a couple of sites that I just check out regularly for just different things going on in the dive world. And today there were 2 divers found off the coast of California, about 4 miles south of Carmel.
Oh, really?
Or Carmel.
Carmel.
Ketamine. No, Carmel. And evidently, as the emergency crews were called, and they arrived in time to see lifeguards were trying to perform CPR on one diver, and then they were referencing, some of the people there were referencing that there was another diver about 50 feet off the shore, floating. So they got some people got in a boat, went out there and brought that diver in, and tried to do CPR, but unfortunately they got him to the hospital, and there was just nothing. There was nothing to do. It was one male, one female, so I'm betting it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife diving. The accident's currently under investigation. Obviously, they're going to do autopsies. The authorities felt that at this point it doesn't look like there's any foul play involved, but I was thinking, it's kind of, I think it's pretty rare when both dive buddies die in a dive accident like that.
I was going to ask you, I mean, was there, were all the limbs there? I mean, were they attacked by a shark? Or?
As far as the story revealed, there was no visible sign of trauma.
Oh, okay.
So, which doesn't mean that there wasn't some kind of trauma. Obviously, there was enough trauma that they died, but
right.
The fact that both perished in this accident and both were on the surface. Now, that could be any number of things. I was trying to think about what sort of accident could have happened. Especially that where both would end up on the surface. They could have not been paying attention. One of them ran out of air and maybe didn't handle a surface correctly, and maybe both coincidentally suffered fatal decompression trauma, barrel trauma, that caused an embolism or something like that, so they were at the surface or near the surface already coming up. That's the thing that you got to watch out for. If you run into trouble, is not panicking.
Right.
You do things like coming up to the surface too quickly, and that actually makes things worse.
Real bad.
Yeah. So
maybe they panicked, held their breath, were coming up, and they're suffered lung damage.
Yeah. Could be. Again, till they do check the equipment, I'm sure they'll, the authorities will bring in scuba equipment experts to look at the gear, see what kind of conditions, see if the air was on, see if there was plenty of air in the tanks, if the regulators were functioning correctly. I'm just trying to imagine what kind of situation would result in 2 people dying. You know, the skills.
At least one of them should have made it.
You would think so.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess until they do their magic, we'll see what happens.
You know, it'll be really sad if both drowned.
Yeah,
it will be really sad. That means that both of them not only that would indicate that not only was there some sort of a failure of possibly equipment, but that both of them did not follow the very basic safety skills that are the self-rescue skills that are taught in the class.
Yeah.
Be curious to know what level of certification they held.
Or who the certifying agency was.
Yeah, yeah. Although, you know, especially if they've had any kind of dives under their belt, you can't really fault the certifying agency for problems that they're having, that they have, or injuries or fatalities, because, you know, you get certified, you go out and dive. After you get certified, what you do, what skills, tools that you use and follow are your choice. You decide to stick with your training and follow all the skills and follow all the rules, or you don't. You know, we've mentioned this before so many times with students. Once you get certified, there are no scuba police. You know, we say it's a good idea to dive with your snorkel. Yeah. There are some situations, there are some types of dives that you shouldn't wear your snorkel. You can actually carry one with you, but you know, there's not going to be somebody out there pulling you over because you weren't. I'm sorry, you weren't wearing your safety snorkel. We'll have to take you. He'll have to find you. I'll have to take you in. I'm sorry, this was your 3rd strike. You're out of the pool.
That's it. You're done.
That's right. But I'm just trying to imagine how far wrong things could have gotten to result in both divers losing their lives.
You know, we talk about this also, is diving comfortably or diving within your range. And, you know, we don't know what depth they were at or what the situation was. But if you're a new diver and you're kind of concerned about, you know, you're going to go on a dive trip, but you're still not sure, you know, try to get a couple of dives under your belt with maybe some people that go diving frequently, you know, like, you know, we talk about this all the time, like Robert and I, you know, we're ready to dive with whoever. Of course, in the wintertime, it's a little difficult because it's a little cold. But,
just a little bit.
Just a little, yeah. But in the summertime, most of the time, we're ready to dive whenever, especially a night dive, guys, if you're out there.
Yeah. I was just talking to somebody about that as well.
But still, if you're uncertain, dive a little bit, get a few dives under your belt, get more comfortable with the gear, and then go out there and do your dive. If that isn't the case, well then, okay, just remember what you learned during your class training, and you should be fine. As long as you don't panic, that's the key. Exactly.
You know, I really believe that anybody who dives really less frequently than we do really should, at the beginning of the season, before you're actually going out on a what I call a real dive, where you've planned, you know, like, hey, we're going diving, we got this trip going, or whatever. Before you do that, go out on a dive that's specifically for a refresher, that's in controlled environment, whether it's in a pool or even just regular open water, but near the shore, where you basically just go right through all the skills. You do the mask clearing, you do the regulator release and recovery and clearing, you do your buoyancy checks, you do your out of air and assisted ascent practices. You go through all of those things so that you know those skills are still good for you, so that when you go on the actual dive excursion, whatever it is, that's not what your worry is.
Mm-hmm.
You know the skills are there. They're going to be available and at least hopefully automatic. I just can't help but wonder what the failure was here. I can't imagine equipment for two divers failing so catastrophically that they both perished.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, since there's not a third party here, we may never know other than something like they when they check the gear and see that it's both tanks were empty or something like that. Well, they obviously asphyxiated. You know, they drowned because the tanks were found to be out of air. Well, okay, but that doesn't tell you the story that led up to what was the root cause. The cause of death may be drowning, but the root cause of the accident may never be known.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think it will, if it doesn't already exist at this level. I know there is some degree of detail that's included, but I think it's going to be pretty soon where some of your higher-end computers are going to have a full-on black box.
Yeah.
Some of them are close right now. I mean, you can go back, even on the computers that I have and on that you have, you can hook them up to a PC and actually review a lot of details of the entire dive, you know, more than what you can actually see on the screen necessarily. And so I think it's just a matter of time before, especially if you have one that has air integration with it, and it's tracking, and now a lot of them are coming out with
like heart monitors and things like that.
So they could tell you, in the event of an accident like this, they could go back on that dive computer and they could show, oh, this person was their heart rate went up, or they were going through arrhythmia, they were having a heart attack at depth. Well, the cause of death may have been drowning, but the root cause of the accident may have been they were having a heart attack.
Yeah.
So it's just, we're almost there to where you can do full on accident investigation with a diving black box. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I think that's going to be important to help organizations like Divers Alert Network to do studies on, you know, causes for diving accidents and things like that. Okay. So I was cruising around this week looking at different dive information, and I came across a website called diverwire.com. And let me switch over to the screen here. There we go. It's a pretty good little site. It's I'd never run across it before, so I think based on some of the stories that I saw on it, it's only a couple years old. Oh boy, here we got more dogs whining. Where's that coming from? Oh, that's Chiana. But this is kind of neat because it's a lot less cluttered in design. I like the way this is set up, and they've got a lot of good information. They've got it broken down into areas of interest, which I think are very good. So you got equipment, training, travel, community, environment, photo and video, different dive stores that they're connected with, and then different resorts. And I love the way this is set up. Different stories of, you know, scuba diving stories around the world. I think this is pretty cool. Miss Scuba USA pageant seeks adventurous participants and sponsors.
I was noticing the top of the web page there. It says Woman Divers Hall of Fame.
And we've actually featured that on a previous podcast last year, women in diving and different careers, and we even posted some information about how to, if you knew of somebody, a woman who is should be recognized, making significant contributions in diving as a woman, that this organization is a good place to connect it to. They've got a number of scholarships that you can put in for as well.
Cool.
You know, obviously that attach itself to dive-related careers.
Your marine biology type thing.
Oceanography and that kind of stuff. So that's definitely a good organization so all you female divers out there, if you want to check out www.wdhof.org, Women Divers Hall of Fame. Pretty cool.
That
Pretty cool.
subgear.com that's being posted there. I think that's that that aftermarket Scuba Pro.
Which one?
That
here,
yes,
Subgear on the right
Subgear,
side. Over
yeah.
there. Introducing apnea-free dive.
Remember when we were in Killeen?
Yeah.
He mentioned he pulled out some equipment that was something Subgear.
Yes.
And I asked him where did that come from, because I hadn't heard of it. And he says, oh, well, that's a kind of a spin-off company from Scuba Pro.
Right.
It was, good equipment at decent, less.
Although,
price.
actually, I've been looking at some of their prices, and they're not all that inexpensive. I was like, wow, this is some higher-end gear, too.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was going to be all, like, second-tier
Yeah, exactly.
type gear. Still great, but doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. But some of their stuff is like, wow. Cha-ching.
Yep.
But a number of good stories, connections to different things. I just kind of cruising through here. I was like, I'm going to have to put this on my favorites to check. We've talked about the Dive Different initiative a few podcasts ago. The idea being there, and we've kind of championed this for folks, is going out and doing other types of diving. Don't get stuck in a rut of doing the same old thing, because that's usually what makes people bored with their current diving experience. Is they're doing the same thing over and over, and they're like, okay, well, it just kind of get boring. I'm like, well, do something different. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different outcome.
Exactly.
And so it's not going to change. You've got to change. You've got to do something. Go get additional certifications. Get the advanced course. Get a specialty or two. And then go out and do those kinds of dives. We're talking about doing the
Clipper.
The Clipper. We're talking about doing the silo. That's different.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
That is different.
We're definitely gonna do that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that not a lot of people do, and it's something you can come away with. I'm bringing the camera. We'll just have a great time and be able to show that to other people. Is like, it's not that big a drive. You can make it up there and do it.
When we do these trips, one of the things that I'm going to definitely try to do is archive the whole entire trip via video and photo.
Oh, so just like a cradle to grave kind of.
Yeah, this way it's kind of like we can come back and share with you all,
right?
Exactly what we do and why we do this. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, you got to try it. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're looking for just a site that kind of keeps you up on various kinds of news and it's not necessarily tied to a specific manufacturer, because there's a lot of sites and magazines out there that are clearly their PADI magazines or their SSI magazines or their SDI sites or whatever. You can. This is a good site that kind of hits it across all. It's not tied to a particular agency or anything, so they're independent, so that you can get some good stories across all the spectrum. I always think that's worthwhile. I'm always looking for variety. Variety being the spice of life, of course, as they say. So. Speaking of diving different, a lot of people that I know, that we know, just don't do winter diving. Yeah. Unless they come from an area where cold water diving is all that's available. They live down here or come down here, and they won't dive during the winter. And of course, it's not my favorite kind of diving, but I love diving, period. So if I have a chance to get in the water, I'm going to get in the water. So finally was able to work out a deal with one of the pilots out here at the base, Zach, and we were able to actually pull off a dive last week, which was pretty interesting. And, of course, last week we showed some pictures, which I'm going to throw up here. There we go. How low the lake is incredible. It's just amazing. I mean, you just never see this. Talk about depressing. But lugging the gear all the way up and down there was crazy.
The chest.
The dive chest that used to be at 33 feet of water is now well above the water.
Yeah.
Incredibly high above the water right now.
So what are you looking at? About 45, maybe 50 feet?
Yep. Well, look at it this way. The small boat was at roughly 40 to 50 feet.
Whoa.
It's at the shore.
That's
So that was disappointing. So got in the water with Zach. There he is. Obviously, we were all dolled up in our cold water gear. That's about all the skin you can bear to expose at that point. And forgive the lack of focus on the pictures. I forgot how difficult it is to even operate a camera
with gloves.
with the 7mm gloves on. But did come across practically buried. I mean, he literally just disappeared into the silt, this big catfish. This thing was about 3 feet long.
Wow.
It was a big catfish. And we can see that the visibility is very heavy with the green. And there's Zach. Again, I was trying to get a picture of the camera, and just really get the focus. You see his eyes are like wide. Visibility was about 8 feet. And then there's just another section there. It's very green. I wasn't expecting it to be this green at this point of the year, but it's just still nasty. So yeah, temperature 50 degrees, right at dead on 50 degrees. We hit the big cave that's down there. 22 feet.
Oh my God.
22 feet for the big cave, which is normally at about 60.
Yeah.
So that tells you how low this lake is right now. It's just crazy, just unbelievable.
Now, is there talk that they're going to stop releasing water to let it come back up?
I thought I heard a rumor that they were supposed to if not stop it, it's going to be cut way back so that they can let the lake build up some.
For the summer,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, because otherwise they're not going to have anything to. What we need is the dam upstream to break again.
Yeah.
That's what we need to have happen. So, yeah, that was kind of depressing. But here's one thing that I did learn from this little diving excursion was I thought I was in pretty good shape.
Uh-oh.
But given how much further it is up that very steep hill to carry all that stuff, oh my gosh, I was exhausted. I actually got carrying, of course, normally, I carry all the students' gear, and, I'm a little winded, but because you're carrying BCs with weights, with tank, up and down the hill, it's always been good exercise. Well, trying to do that with nearly twice the distance at that kind of an incline. Oh my gosh! I got to the bottom of the walkway, and man, I was like, my legs did not want to take a step, and I was breathing pretty hard. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need to step up my endurance for the rest of this winter, going into spring, if I want to be in decent shape to do any kind of teaching. If I'm going to be continuing teaching there, I don't know at this point if I'll be teaching there, but and I know you've been doing the bike riding thing.
Yeah, I've been doing the bike riding to increase my endurance.
Yeah.
And also I've shed close to about 22 pounds already.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
So, but still, carrying gear is that stuff gets heavy.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I can't imagine if you got winded. I know I'm gonna be dying.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking of you. I was like, okay, you would be seriously complaining about maybe we should change our venue.
Yeah.
Because it is not fun at all. And what makes it worse is the fact that for that just below where the dive chest is, since all of that has been underwater for so long, even though the water is well below that now, it's still loose. Oh. It's still kind of soggy. And so you step on something and it looks like it's solid, and suddenly it's like giving out from underneath you or sliding. And there were a couple of times, I got video of it, there were a couple of times you're like about to lose it all, fall over. And I can imagine if you're carrying gear and lose it, you could seriously hurt yourself. And I was telling Zach, I said, there was he goes, are you going to just gear up and carry it down? I said, last summer I did. Had no problem with it. It wasn't nearly down this far. Yeah. But I said, at 50 years old, if I lose it here, and because this is a much longer distance and because of how loose it is further down, I said, if I lose it here, it's a lot longer recovery for me. So, and thank God I have not broken anything my entire life. So I didn't want to start now.
No.
So I carried the tank down first, and then I lugged all the rest of it down. But I did wear it all coming up, and oh my gosh, I'm like, no.
I could probably do it. I could probably pull it off, getting all the stuff up.
Yeah.
But then I would have to take about a 20-minute break, like I've done in the past.
Yeah.
I get the gear up to the top, and you're probably like wondering, like, where did he go?
You just gotta rest.
And you see me, I'm sitting at the table gasping for.
You just gotta rest. So speaking of that, I've noticed on LinkedIn and through this DiverWire site, this new program that's being actually featured as part of the Texas Dive Show that's going on this weekend in Arlington. I was like, oh wow, I wish I'd known about that well ahead. But they have this program called Scuba Fit, and let me pull up the website here. You talk about hurting your feelings. This will hurt your feelings. So they actually have where you can get certified, and you do the insurance thing and everything, because obviously people could get injured, but
right.
You can actually get certified as a Scuba Fit instructor. They were going to be doing demonstrations, etc., at the Texas Dive Show. But I mean, they have a pretty good program here if you really are, and you don't have to be a diver to get into this, but they have their own app, which obviously it's only an Android app. They don't even have it for the iPhone, which I was surprised.
Wow.
But so they have the Scuba Fit program, then they have the Fit Diver, and then they have Dive Fit, which focuses on people with disabilities, or they're going through cancer treatment, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So they've got exercises specifically to improve quality of life.
Wow.
For those folks.
I feel another certification coming on.
No, I'm not gonna be that hard over. But it does make me with that, and with the experience that I had this past week, it does make me realize I need to probably step up my my fitness program a little bit more. Doing moderate exercise on not as regular a basis as I should. Well, I'm not in bad shape at all, but if I'm going to be challenged like that this year,
yeah,
I definitely have to step it up to meet that challenge. So, interestingly, I've been getting involved in a lot of debates or discussions on the interweb, LinkedIn, as a matter of fact, over people who are getting into instructing, and they're having a hard time getting jobs as an instructor. And of course, then you see a lot of these instructors commenting, they're instructors my age or older, and they're making comments like, well, it's pretty difficult if you're getting into this late in the game. If you're not a 20-something and have a body out of that looks like it's out of Baywatch, you're not going to be you're going to have a harder time getting hired by dive shops, etc. I'm like, well, that's kind of defeatist attitude for some of these people.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess it comes down to something that I had discussed with you some time back.
Yeah.
Like in law enforcement, you don't want to be huge, in law enforcement, even though you do see, officers that are out there that are like heavy set.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not good practice. First of all, for any agency, that's why most agencies now have some sort of physical fitness program within the department, because if you're unhealthy, that can lead to work-related stress, just different things. So if you're in shape, you're less likely to get sick, get hurt, and anything like that. Same thing with the like, for example, me doing the writing. I've found that I started to write a lot, like harder, so I'm losing a little bit more weight, but my body's feeling different at different times.
Absolutely.
When I first started, it was rough. I'm not gonna lie, it was rough. But now, as I'm starting to slim down, I feel a lot better, so I move easier.
Absolutely.
Which is really important. And then you go to buy clothes, like, for example, writing clothes. Everything is like fitted and super small, and and you're like, well, I ain't gonna look good in that. I'm not gonna look good. You want the full package. You want to make sure that you look good doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
The same thing with the diving.
We know somebody who puts that as the premium, right?
Yeah, exactly. And in the diving too, you mentioned it. You got to carry your gear down. Sometimes really dangerous terrain. You can fall. You can get hurt. You got to be really careful. If you're not in shape, you might exert yourself even before the dive, and you're gonna get in the water and you're still not rested and stuff. I had that experience. So it's like anything. I mean, you gotta be fit doing whatever it is you plan on doing.
Right. Yeah, that's I think that's important. Even if you're a larger person, you can still get your heart and other things working in as good a shape as you possibly can, so that you maximize your enjoyment of the sport, as well as that you minimize the potential for something to go wrong. You definitely don't want to have heart problems at 60 feet. So taking care of yourself, eating right, getting plenty of rest, and getting as much exercise as is appropriate for your level. But this website,
it's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Check it out. At least if nothing else, it might give you some encouragement or some enticement, some ideas how to step into a fitness program that in a way that you haven't before, so that you'll have a safe and enjoyable diving experience. So, well, one of our favorite places to go is Balmorhea State Park, and I found out something the other day that I want to feature here as we wind down the podcast. Talking about from one extreme to the other. The first extreme was the fact that the lake is so low and it's pretty much all shallow diving anymore, unless you go way out into the canyon. Now, I was not aware that the deepest underwater cave is right there by Balmorhea.
Whoa!
Yeah, I was like, okay, so at Amistad, we have the most dangerous cave at Goodenough Springs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most dangerous cave in the United States. And up at Balmorhea, where we do a lot of our trips to, has the deepest underwater cave. And it's called Phantom Springs Cave.
Wow.
And I came across it totally by accident. Evidently, Texas A&M, well, they've done a number of dives. They've done stuff out here at Lake Amistad.
Yeah.
But they also sent a small team, to go to the cave that's there at Balmorhea. And so I've got their website here. Let me pull it up. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. Texas A&M professor leads expedition into the deepest underwater cave. This was in January. So nestled by Balmorhea, the little town of Balmorhea. And evidently this cave is protected or owned by the Bureau of Reclamation. I'd never heard of that. I didn't know we had. I was like, is that one of those made up departments? Somebody had a cousin that they wanted to get employed, and so they, hey, I got the perfect department for you. You'll be the head of the Department of Reclamation.
Sounds like some kind of
out of Hooterville. That's what it says. Mr. Douglas, I'm here from the Department of Reclamation.
Reclamation.
But
what's the depth that the cave is at?
Well, here's the thing. It starts out, the first part of the dive is 20 or 30 feet, but then it rockets down. After they got down to, basically they started for the next 2,000 feet of the cave, as far as into the cave, they dropped down to 460 feet and had to turn around because they weren't outfitted to go any deeper. So let me pull up their actual website for the dive. So they call it the Phantom Cave 2013 Exploration, Magnus Hall.
Well, I wouldn't call it anything. They didn't even get that far. I mean, they only made it 400 feet.
Yeah, really. But I mean, look at this. This is the opening to the cave right here.
Wow.
That is pretty impressive. Billions of stars illuminate the remote skies. The yelps of coyote packs echo across the desert. A beam of light suddenly flickers from inside the dark cave entrance. 7 hours have passed since the deep exploration team entered the cave with the goal to push this unique desert spring further, and possibly deeper, than any other underwater cave in the United States. Look at this. Look at this. I love this. Upon our arrival, Balmorhea, a winter storm blanketed the desert with over 8 inches of snow. I didn't even know that.
I didn't know it snowed over there.
I just can't imagine Balmorhea looking like that.
Well, you're going to be in trouble when you got a light, that professional dive light that's there to the side.
Yeah. I'm like, wow.
Wow.
This is amazing.
Snow. That is cool.
Actually, it was cold.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know, Rob. What do you think? Should we add that to our...
Well, you can't dive this. Obviously, A, you'd have to be cave certified. B, you only can go with a special scientific permit.
Oh, okay. So then that's why it's closed off.
Right. I love these pictures. I've got some video I wanted to put up here. There's their campsite going into the cave entrance. See, if you didn't know this, I mean, this kind of just looks like a rock cropping there in the desert. Let me get the video going here. If I can. Liquid Production, LLC.
Dweep.
They hit a record depth of 462 feet. Surveyed over 8,000 feet of the cave.
You know you're in Texas when you're...
You gotta hear the twang, yeah.
In the first week of January in 2013, the team set out for western Texas. The destination was a small town called Balmorhea. It's deep in the desert,
Balmorhea.
190 miles from the Mexican border, and pretty much in the middle of nowhere. So why come? We're here at Phantom Cave.
So they lock that thing down.
Surface,
Yep.
But underneath our feet, it opens up into a vast and expansive underwater.
This reminds me of
It's one of the
Sanctum.
longest cave
Yeah.
systems in the United States.
Look how clear
outside
that
of the
is.
state of Florida, and it's still being explored.
You don't think of the desert as having springs.
Do they got
like
scooters?
This. You would expect this in Florida.
No.
Here you're out in the middle of West Texas and out in the desert, and there's this gorgeous spring cave sitting there.
I'm
In January, it can be quite
just the
cold,
thought
and the
of getting in the
expedition
water
began
when
with
it's
half
this
foot of
cold.
snow,
But
ice,
here's
freezing
what's
rain,
funny.
and lots of mud.
And knowing Balmorhea, this doesn't surprise me.
It's an adventure.
I think they get all the precipitation here in Texas in January.
Although it's 20 degrees outside, inside the cave and underwater it's quite warm,
steam.
a balmy 78.
Wow.
78-degree water.
It's like taking a bath.
Yes.
The goal of the expedition is to map, survey, explore, experiment, and document the cave in HD video. Our team consists of Dr. Tom Iliff, a professor
Look at
from
that.
Texas A&M University and a highly respected
So you don't need gloves.
biologist.
It's
Kurt
so
Bowen
warm.
of the ADM Foundation and talented photographer. Brett Hemphill, an extremely experienced cave explorer. Dr. Andy Pitkin, who will also be exploring Phantom Springs Cave.
Oh, that is a scooter.
Mike
Yeah, 'cause I didn't see him
Jason
kicking.
Richards, and Chrissy Richards, who will be doing the cave survey and cartography. Joel Clark and Corey Mearns of Light Monkey Enterprises, who will be doing logistical support and video lighting. And Becky Kagan-Schott, who will be documenting the team and the cave in high-definition video.
So we have a great variety of people, all specialists and all experts in a variety of fields coming together to do this investigation of Phantom Springs.
This is just so
Everything
remarkable.
we have here, including a compressor, tanks, rebreathers, DPVs, cameras, and more, had to be driven in for this project.
Last year was a very exciting time for us because that was the first time we'd ever dived in this particular
All right,
cave.
it's a Brit. I love it.
And what we knew about it before last year was that it was a very shallow cave, maximum depth of about 65 feet, average depth in the 40s, and we knew it went out about 6,500 feet of very nice passage. Well, we got in and got to the end of the existing exploration and immediately found that the cave passage was starting to get much deeper.
To say it was frustrating, you know, you always have lots of anticipation of what a cave is going to do, and up till that particular point, the average depth in the cave was 40 feet, so we came prepared with the appropriate breathing gas for that depth. Unlike the first 7,000 feet of cave, within 900 feet, the cave went from 38 feet to 237 feet deep, and appears that it still may be trending that way. So still a lot of uncertainty, but we've come back this year prepared with the appropriate gases to explore further. It could terminate. It could turn and come very shallow again, and possibly start heading more towards the north-northwest. It could continue to stair-step down to depths that are relative to Lake Amistad good enough, or it could continue somewhere between 300 and 400 feet. The best option is that it'll immediately go shallow again, and we can all start laying tremendous amounts of line.
What's your gut feeling? What do you think it's going to do?
My gut feeling is
Lake
it's gonna
Amistad,
drop
good enough
down to
springs, did you hear him?
probably
Yep.
400-foot range and level off.
Our main priority is to get the safety gas staged in the cave, and then Brett and I, assuming that all that goes well, intend
is
to
just
go and look at
gorgeous.
the
But look, there's
existing end
like
of the line
no
and try to
silt,
see
no
if we can get
nothing.
some
It's just all
idea
rock.
of
Yep.
Which of those three possibilities
It's just
is
so
gonna take
surreal.
place. Is it going
Yep.
to keep on dropping down and down? Is it going to level off, or is it going to come up? Because that's going to affect how we plan logistically over the next few days to
Oh, yeah,
do our
because
diving.
you're changing depth.
Mm-hmm.
So, which of the three possibilities do you think it was?
The deep one.
No, well, we'll see. I think it may be an amalgam of two of them, but we got to the end
Wow,
of
and
the
then
line,
two divers that are
and,
diving, look how much space they
pretty
have.
much we
Not
already
a
knew it was
lot.
going down, and it goes down, and it's just getting bigger. It's big, beautiful borehole passage. Brett was running the reel, and we continue going down and down, and hit that 250 that we knew we were going to hit last time, and just went beyond. We kind of went around a corner, and then it leveled off a bit, and then just went down, down, down.
Wow.
And finally leveled off at about 320, and then we had about 400-500 feet of linear penetration, and finally we come into this enormous room, and we're right at the top of the room, 320, 330
Look at
feet,
that.
and the bottom of the room is like 60, 70 feet below us. It probably goes to 400.
Phantom Springs exploration dive number 2 of 2013. Our previous exploration ended at a depth of 330. And our goal for this dive was to go back and survey that line. And we got to the precipice, to the pit, where it was 330 feet. We hung a strobe, and Andy was tying off. And I went out
Oh
into
my
the pit
gosh.
and dropped down and found out that it actually went directly back underneath us. So the pit was actually a double pit, and it went down and down and down. 350, 360, 380, 390, 400, 410,
My
420,
gosh.
430, 440. And Andrew bottomed out at 450 feet. And a beautiful passage. Suddenly the sound happened, and the sound sounded just like this. And Andrew goes, oh, he thinks it's solenoid, this and that, and I'm kind of staying off the floor looking at him, and he's like, oh, well, everything seems to be okay. So he's like, let's go, and he lifts up off the dirt, and his scooter did not move. The aft of the scooter imploded, and the Magnus is now a permanent part of Phantom Cave. Nothing else went wrong. Really, everything else went real good. The deco wasn't.
So I guess that's why they call it the Magnus Hall, because
it's unfortunate.
they had to leave their scooter,
What'd
which
you
was
say
a
about your
Magnus
scooter?
scooter.
It's just money. What Terry said. Don't take anything into the water you're not willing to lose. Is that what he said?
Wow.
The Magnus. That's a lot of pressure when a scooter implodes. It just
My
crushed it.
research concerns looking for.
Well, anyway, rather
discovering
than
new species of
rather than
animals
play this whole
living
thing, I just wanted to let folks see, so you can check out that website yourself. So it's just amazing. Just look for the Phantom Cave. That's the admfoundation.org is where that website is. So you should check it out. But that's amazing. That's up there by little old Balmorhea.
Yep.
That we dive all the time, not realizing that spring actually is coming from. From that.
I know we might not be able to dive it, but I'd like to, next time we go out there, maybe we can just go out there and take a couple of pictures of the area.
I don't know that you can. I mean, just looking at
get-
the how you drive out there, I bet it's all protected land. It's land owned by the Department of Reclamation.
Department of Reclamation.
I still think that's a made up department.
It's a Department of Reclamation.
Yeah, the Department of Redundancy Department. So that's pretty awesome. So right here in our own backyard, we have the most dangerous cave, and then we have the deepest cave,
The deepest cave in the
underwater cave. It just makes me want to go watch
Sanctum?
again. They've been playing The Cave
Yeah.
on TV the last couple of days. And I've been watching that. It was a pretty interesting movie, again, about, largely about scuba diving.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting. But, yeah, just exciting stuff. That's why we do this, folks. I mean, we don't cave dive, but we get to see some caves. Little old Lake Amistad.
Does have caves.
Yeah, it does have caves. And, you can kind of stick your head in your light and kind of look around.
It's kind of like when we stumbled onto the abyss.
Yeah.
We were diving was it a night dive?
It was a night dive.
It was a night dive. I think we went off to one of the...
Because we had done a day dive there, but hadn't really gone that deep with it. We were just kind of checking areas. So, well, let's go ahead and do a night dive.
Yeah,
so it was easy to access.
Yeah, we did a night dive, and of course that wasn't our personal best because we did that during the day.
Right.
But we stumbled on this drop off by accident. I mean, because we never knew it was there, and it dropped down. I mean, we were down. I was down 140 feet, and it still kept going.
Yeah.
And that's when we said, okay, it's time to turn around. Our computers were yelling at us,
Yeah.
literally
Beep,
like, get out.
Running out of time.
But
Exactly.
it was awesome. We did the dive at 12 noon, I remember.
Right.
I had a 5 mil full on, and it was freezing.
It was cold.
It was cold. And when we got out, the surface temperature was like 100 degrees outside. But it was freezing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's it's getting to see things like that just make it worthwhile. And you look at that cave. There, although later on you see they're going to talk a little bit about the biology in the cave, but you get down there and there's nothing. I mean, there's just it's virtually barren.
yeah.
And so if you are one of those that is kind of snobbish about going out and diving around coral reefs and stuff like that, which are great, I enjoy it a lot, but don't cheat yourself of being able to just look at sites like that and just be amazed at what creates those.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I enjoy diving Castle Canyon and out by the cliffs here. You get to see stuff that just, wow, it's pretty cool. So well worth it. So we hope you got some bits of information that enrich your life this week. Let's go ahead and hit some administrivia before we shut her down for another week. So, forgot to update the dive club meeting. So we've already had, which one is that? I can't even see it. We already had our dive club meeting for this week. There we go. It's that one. So we'll just make that go away. We do have our Balmorhea. Speaking of Balmorhea, you want to get at least a little taste of the water that comes from that stuff.
Yeah.
We got trips scheduled this year, the 17th through 19th of May, June 14th through 16th, July 19th through 21st, and, of course, anniversary week, August 16th through the 18th. Come enjoy our, Tara and I have our anniversary. We'll just love to have you all there. And we do have, I'm not sure exactly where they're going to be held, but we do have classes scheduled for this year, 23rd through the 26th of May, the 27th through the 30th of June, 25th through the 28th of July, 22nd through the 25th of August, and 26th through the 29th of September. And somewhere in there, we're going to fit a trip to the Texas Clipper and a trip to the silo.
The silo.
We're going to do the silo. So we'll post those as we kind of firm up those dates. And we'd love to hear from you. Of course, check us out on YouTube, but also hit us up on our website or on Facebook. You can reach us at check us out at delriodiveclub.com or on Facebook /Del Rio Dive Club. And once we get the Skype thing working, still conversing back and forth with the folks at XSplit to kind of get that rolling. But once we get that rolling, and of course, now that Microsoft has merged, they've shut down Instant Messenger. And now they've integrated all of that with Skype. So actually, our Skype is also a way to message us.
Yes.
So Two Guys Who Dive, if you want to connect to us with Skype. Or you can email us at tgwd@outlook.com. And then, of course, if you'd like to chat specifically with Scuba Bob, you can reach him via his Twitter at rsgarza435 or send him an email. He'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
He reads each and every one.
I do.
He doesn't hire somebody else to specifically read them for him.
No, it's not very much to read because nobody emails me.
That's right. But you can email him at rsgarza821@yahoo.com. And, of course, you can follow me on Twitter at RobertCFP.
Twitter.
Yes, at Twitter. Or you can send me an email at robert.wade@settyfox.net. Love to hear from you. I do read mine as well. I don't have somebody hired to do that for me. But we just we really, really love doing the show. Love hearing from folks who've said, hey, I saw you last week, or we caught you on YouTube, whatever. And we're just all about trying to encourage people to dive. And if you haven't ever been diving before, we encourage you to try it out somewhere, either with a Discover Scuba course, or just let us know, and we'll set up some sort of a introductory experience for you. Before you know it, the spring will be here and the weather will start warming up. Although tomorrow, it's supposed to be 80 some odd degrees.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
See if you maybe can cut away for a short dive tomorrow sometime.
See if we can break away.
Yeah. See if we just like I said, real short dive. When we went down last weekend, we were in the water for 45 minutes. That was it. That was all I could stand. But maybe we could check out the abyss. We may actually be able to see the above water portions.
Yeah, we might be able to just tippy toe out there.
Out to it, exactly. So we ought to check that out. See if we can get a dive in, especially if it's nice and warm on the surface. It makes getting out of the water just that much better.
Yeah, we again we dove last January.
Yeah,
water was beautiful, warm.
Yeah.
But getting out of the water was
chilly.
Never seen Robert run. He ran.
Oh yeah, right. Get to the Now that I have the trailer, I can hop in there, and it's nice, get protected from the wind and everything. So as always, we enjoy having you guys with us, and We're looking forward to all sorts of exciting new adventures that we can bring to you next week on another episode of Two Guys Who Dive.